It is 3:30 and we are recording. Good. All right. So today we are talking about just setting up and installing keyboards and fonts for typing in Greek and Hebrew and any other characters that you may need to use. So the primary resource that we're going to use for this, and since I can't project onto the screen, I'll just come over here and get comfy with you guys. If you go to the library website, so that is library.sbts.edu. You will see on the left-hand side, there will be an option for research guides. If you go down, scroll down to typing in biblical languages. And so this is the LibGuide that I set up for us and for everyone to just help you guys walk through setting up and installing your keyboard. So do you guys already know how to type in different languages and different characters or not? Maybe tried it. So good, this will be perfect. So the first, for homepage, you'll see what we'll walk through is configuring the keyboard, using keyboard different custom layouts, and then working with fonts, and then setting them up in our word processors. So go to the configuring keyboard layouts page, and there should be a box that comes up allowing you to select either Windows or Mac. So whichever operating system you're using, you can just walk through those steps. So you should be able to click on there, right? So I'm using a Mac. Does anyone have a Windows? You have a Windows machine over there. Okay, do you know what operating system you have there? Yeah. Windows 10, okay, good. So that one's pretty easy to set up through. So from there, I'm gonna walk through this on my screen, so because it's being recorded, so for posterity. But you guys can just follow the steps there. So for your Apple, go to the main menu, right, and go to System Preferences. So your Apple icon up on the left-hand side, and go to System Preferences. Windows, you should be able to follow it there to be able to go to selecting time and language. So we'll go up on Apple. You go to your keyboard, go to Input Sources up top, and on the bottom left-hand side, there should be a little arrow, or excuse me, a little plus sign. And from there, you can figure out what sort of language you'll need. So typing in biblical languages, we're obviously going to need Greek and Hebrew will be our main ones. So if you go to like Hebrew, you'll see you have a couple of different options. Most common one, at least for now, we can set up with is Hebrew-QWERTY. Do you see that there? Okay, looking up the Greek one. So for Greek, usually the best one is Greek polytonic, which may be the only option they even give you.
There's just Greek and then Greek.
Yeah, so you can just click add then. Both will actually work pretty much the same. I'm sorry? So on the Hebrew, for the PC, you follow a slightly different set of instructions. It will ask you to install a language pack. Yeah. So you should be able to just click Hebrew. Let's just go with Hebrew for now, because what we're going to do eventually is install a custom keyboard that's better suited for typing in biblical languages. Okay. So select the keyboard that you need. I'm going to click cancel because I already have mine set up. And for the Mac, it should be added, and you should be able to start typing now in languages once you then change over to that new keyboard. Okay. How are we doing over here? Is it making sense? Or do you already have yours set up for this? No?
You send an email, let us download some software.
I'm sorry?
You send it, if you got in the last email, it's a download of some software.
So I didn't send out that email, so I don't exactly know what it says. But there is a LibGuide so that we've been going to. If you go to the library homepage on the left-hand side, go to research guides, typing in biblical languages. So we're just on the first page, which is configuring our keyboard layouts. So this is, I wish I was able to demonstrate it to everyone. I'll just have to turn my computer around. But once you're able to have those other languages enabled, let me get this out of my way. Once you get those other languages enabled, you'll be able to start typing in whichever languages you need. So we'll just see here. Does anyone have any questions so far getting it set up? So this is different than the other workshops where there's a lot of explanation of writing. This is really more mechanical, like how to get things set up, how to do it, how to switch between your different keyboards. So like on a Mac, you can then go to your system preferences again, and you can set up your input sources. You can set up having different ways to switch between your keyboards easily. So for that, again, for the sake of those, for this being recorded, I'll walk through it. You go to keyboard, you go to shortcuts, input sources, and you can select previous input source and check select next source and input menu. And you can customize those keys however you need for the Mac. So I use Command Space for going to the previous input source, and what is that? Option Command Space to just cycle through them. And for the Mac, on your taskbar, you should see a little flag that appears now. So if you always want to, you can always just click on that little flag. That'll bring a drop-down menu, and you should see your keyboard. So do you see those? Yeah. All right, awesome. So now you can just open up a word processor or text edit, Microsoft Word, whatever. And if you switch to your different keyboard, you can now type whatever random characters, and you are now typing in another language.
It still picks up, still uses the font that's in the word processor.
Right, so it's going to stick with the standard font for right now, and we're going to get to what exactly is happening with all of that. So let me close this out here. Nope, I don't want to save that. So again, we set up our keyboard. So now what we're going to talk about, and this is where I did want to show you guys, is a lot of how people think that a keyboard is communicating with your computer. So most people think it's something like this. You press the letter A, and magically the letter A is printed out on your screen, right? Because it seems pretty obvious because you have the letter A right here. So then you would think that this is almost like an unchangeable, keyboard, that you can never change this. But that's not really how it's operating. What it's a little bit more like is this. When you press the letter A, it sends this like fancy code of digits to your computer, and it prints it out to the screen. What it is your computer has a keyboard map inside of it. And so when you press like the letter A, you're telling the computer is that this key has been pressed. And the computer will have a map inside of it that indicates, oh, so this key has been pressed. What am I supposed to print out to the screen? And for most standard English keyboards, if you press that key right there, it's going to be the letter A. All right. So what we can do then with typing for other languages is we're able to change that keyboard map. So you should actually be able then to see what your keyboard looks like. On a Windows machine, if you go to, I believe, Keyboard Viewer, go to your Start menu, go to Keyboard Viewer, And on your Mac, on that drop-down menu, you should be able to select virtual keyboard. Should have something like that. And if you switch to a different language, and I'm going to do this on my machine here. So show keyboard viewer. So right now, my keyboard looks like it is mapped to, whoops, I made it smaller, which was the opposite of what I wanted to do. So right now, my keyboard is mapped to Hebrew. And if I switch it to something else, it's back to English. And so this way, it lets me know how my computer is understanding my keyboard right now. So this is a key concept because a lot of people tend to think that our keyboards and that our fonts are our keyboards, and they're not. That's the thing, they're separate ideas. So just reading through this, so when you type a character, the computer doesn't look, a character to a computer, it doesn't look like any one thing. It's just essentially zeros and ones. And a character is a specific combination of those zeros and one. And what a program like Google Docs, Microsoft Word, any text editing program you do, is when that character is printed to the screen, it's going to assign a certain font to style it in a certain way. And so this is where we'll get into things like Unicode and all that. So here I just made like a little graph. You can see like this letter A, right, can look sort of like anything with any font. It can be an Arial, it can be in Times New Roman, it can be Comic Sans, it can be whatever. To the computer, they're all, though, this certain set of code, a certain set of zeros and ones that define it as a letter A or a lowercase letter A. Where you get into trouble is when you use things like Times or BibleWorks. Have you guys ever used like BibleWorks font? Yeah, never. Don't use BibleWorks font. It's the worst. And so what it is the specific zeros and ones are, it's a thing called Unicode. You'll hear that a lot. People will say you need to use a Unicode font. And in Unicode, every character has its own definition of zeros and ones, and they can't change. So a lowercase letter A will always have the certain zeros and ones, and a Hebrew aleph will always have a certain set of zeros and ones, and a Greek letter alpha will always have a certain set of zeros and ones, and it's never going to be different. The problem is with like a BibleWorks font is it will make this letter A look like a Greek alpha, which we would think might be okay, but the way a computer is going to handle things, it's going to cause a lot of problems. So if you go, let's go back to our libguide.
It's specifically BibleWorks.
Specifically, not the program, but that font called BibleWorks Greek or BibleWorks Hebrew. That font is always going to, it's going to transform your characters the wrong way. So if we go to the next page, installing keyboard layouts, and is it here? Nope, it may be on another page. Go down one more, Greek and Hebrew fonts. If you go down to Greek and Hebrew fonts, and you'll see this little section called Why Unicode Fonts. The first line for Unicode text should have all Greek letters. And that second line, does anyone have it where it looks like Greek, or does it just look like gibberish?
Yeah. Under non-Unicode BibleWorks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it just look like gibberish to yours? Yeah. So on my computer, it will actually look like Greek because I have that BibleWorks font on there. And so I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But on my computer, it looks like Greek, but it's not Greek. It's actually, you know, a bunch of gibberish text because it's making it look like it's Greek characters. I mean, it's not. So now we have our, we're able to type now in different languages. So you can type now in Greek, and you have a keyboard for typing in Hebrew. If you go to the Hebrew keyboard, though, what you'll realize if you ever need to type in biblical languages is you won't have all of the specific pointings, right? Are you guys taking Hebrew? Anyone here taking Hebrew at all? Yeah. So if you ever end up needing to type in Hebrew, using the keyboard that you have that comes with your standard computer is not going to be sufficient. It's not going to allow you to do all the crazy marks that you need. So that brings us on to the second page, installing keyboard layouts. And we can go to the biblical Hebrew one. So the Greek keyboard you have will, for the most part, suffice, unless you're doing some pretty intricate text critical stuff where you may need some special characters. But for biblical Hebrew, we're going to need a new one. So if you're able to see there, there's a link to the SBL website. You can click on that. And there's a couple things we're going to download from this page. One is going to be our keyboard driver, and then we're going to be able to install our fonts. So does anyone here have SBL or the keyboards, the SBL keyboards installed already? No? Good. So this is perfect. We'll walk through this even more. All right. So we can, again, continue. If you just click on that link, for Mac users, you want to click on the bottom link that says SBL keyboard drivers, SIL, and Tyro. And if you're using a PC, you'll just want to click on the one that's labeled SIL. Okay. Question? You're good? Or?
This is the layout. Yeah, the layout.
Mm-hmm.
Drivers.
Yep, keyboard drivers. And you're going to want to download SIL layout. So the SIL one is better for biblical studies because the characters are going to be more similar to English characters. That is, like, the letter H will be a hey, the letter M will be a mem. Whereas if you use Tyro, it's a different setting because it's based off of the Israeli keyboard. And it's going to be a lot harder for you unless you're Israeli. So we can walk through on there the installing keyboard layouts page. And this one may require that you restart your computer. I think it does on a Windows machine. It may not on a Mac. And thankfully, when you download them, it comes with a nice little package installer, and it will do all the hard work for you. Let me check on, see how everyone here is doing. Good. All right. Questions?
Question is, I just come later,
Mhm.
3 minutes. I don't know the first beginning where you are. So.
Yeah. So that's fine. So I'm recording this, so I wanted to make sure I'm just keep going. But yeah, if you go to the library's webpage, so library.sbts.edu, on the left-hand side, go to Research Guides. And click on that, scroll down to Typing in Biblical Languages. And that is the guide that we've been working off of. Yeah. So the first page, configuring your keyboard layout, that's going to be where you can set up typing in a different language if you don't have any other keyboards installed on your computer. But if you want, you can actually just go right to the installing keyboard layouts page and download. So that's the second page there. Click on that link to SBL and download the keyboard driver SIL layout. Because once we do that, we'll follow the instructions from the first page again, and then we'll be able to have that loaded onto your system and good to go. Everyone's internet connection is good. It's actually downloading. Yeah. All right, so it's going to download a package installer for you. You can click on that and it should just walk you through everything. Let me see what this notification says. All right, it says Biblical Hebrew Keyboards Mac installer can't be opened because it is from an unidentified developer. Okay, this happens on some of the Macs. Just click OK. and then go to your downloads menu. So if you get on a Mac, if you get an error that it won't open because it's unidentified, go to that package and right click on it and click open. And you should be able to click open now. It's a little counterintuitive that you have to right click. So let's see, we're working on a Mac, or excuse me.
This is only, it's not.
Okay,
Windows.
yeah, so this is on our Windows machine. So if you just follow the...
Yeah, I just follow it.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't have to click on the link. Go back to the page.
Okay.
This is our first page. And if you just follow, the steps for Windows 10.
Yeah, I just set them here.
So I was just indicating where I got my source from on there.
Okay.
So you can just go to Start, and then go to Settings.
Yeah, it's quite different. There's a second one.
So this is the step 2 is for switching between the languages if you don't have them already installed.
Okay.
And how's it coming over here?
Setup is running.
Looks like it is right there.
There we go.
Okay, close the exit. And now what you'll have to do is go back to the first page of our LibGuide, and you'll want to follow those instructions for installing your keyboard.
So this installing keyboard layout, so I just click on this one.
Click on that one, yep.
And then this is Windows machine, so phone download, and this one, the first one.
So we want to do, the keyboard driver, first one, SIL layout, correct.
Is it necessary to download this one?
We'll download the font in a little bit, but right now I just want to focus on getting our keyboard up and running correctly. Yeah. So again, there's a difference between fonts and keyboards. They work together, but they are different. So we want to be able to have our keyboards up and running first.
I removed the other one, the standard, or the previous keyboard that I had.
It did what?
So I have the Soul keyboard now, so can I remove it?
Yep, you can, feel free to remove that.
And there'll still be another one on the list that I'm on.
Yeah. Now, when you click over here on the language options, right, so it doesn't have,
So it doesn't show.
it doesn't have it, you're going to have to restart it. Yeah. Again, just to reiterate, with the Windows machines, you'll have to restart it once you install SIL. How's it working on the Mac over there?
It had me restarted as well.
Okay, so the Mac will have you restart it as well. And on the Windows machines, on your taskbar near your clock, you'll be able to see a little selection that shows the different languages. So if you don't want to use a keyboard shortcut to cycle through the languages, you can always just click on the language that you want. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Question. So I extract the package. So I just click on the setup. Is it?
Yep. So when you download the package, just click on setup, and it will just do all the magic for you. Yeah. That's the nice thing about computers. They make it easy for you until something doesn't work, and then it's harder.
Do I need to restart?
So you want to go back to the configuring keyboard layouts page and follow the instructions there to make sure that SIL has been loaded. And then once it has, you can then you'll have to restart your machine. Yeah. All right. And then, so if you want to take a look once you get it up and running, you can open up again Microsoft Word or your text editor, and you'll be able to see that you have a slightly different looking keyboard. And if you open up your keyboard viewer, you'll be able to see what happens, like when you want to type in characters, when you press the shift key, how what access to different characters you have, because you'll have access to all the different vowel pointings. Make this look again bigger for those who are looking at the recording. Yours just restarting.
Yeah, it's just that you're starting.
Okay. And this is, yes, the slowest part of the process.
So after you started, where do you go to again?
So for the Macs, again, on the top near the clock, there should be like a little flag symbol.
Yeah.
So you should be able to see a drop-down menu there, and it will tell you the different keyboards that you have available to you. And it should say Biblical Hebrew-SIL. Does it have that?
Just whenever you click on the flag?
I'm sorry?
Just whenever you click on the flag?
Yeah, when you click on the flag, it should show this drop-down menu. Okay, so we don't have SIL put in yet, so go to Open Keyboard Preferences. And again, it's just going back to that same process that we did before. Go to Input Sources, go to Add, and search Hebrew. And you'll want Biblical Hebrew, SIL, Add. And now you can delete that other one because we won't want it. So just hit the minus button. And there you go. So now you have Greek and Hebrew keyboards set up for typing.
And for the Greek, it's just the polytonic.
The polytonic suffices for, again, most things Biblical Greek. And if you open, again, your keyboard on the Macs, if you open up, you go to that flag symbol, click on Show Keyboard Viewer. It will show you a virtual keyboard of all the characters that are available to you using SIL.
Show keyboard viewer?
Oh, so yours does not have that. So let's see where the keyboard viewer would be. Go to Open Keyboard Preferences, maybe. Get rid of that. Menu. Okay. I would maybe just go to Google and search Mac Keyboard Viewer, and we can figure out where it is on your system.
There are two fonts, so.
Right, so now you have two keyboards installed, which is great. So
Keep one or just keep both?
well, we want to make sure we have SIL. Is that our default one? Okay. Oh, so yeah, just click on Add Keyboard.
Keyboard. Here.
Yeah, and it won't let you click on SIL. Oh, did you restart your computer?
No, I'm not.
No? Okay, but you downloaded
Yeah, we just downloaded it.
and installed. You may have to restart your
Oh,
computer.
you start again.
Yeah. And that should hopefully give you access to it. And what about yours here? You got it?
Yeah, it's gonna get there. It's just yeah, it's not the newest model. The restarting takes a while.
Yeah.
It's still getting its ducks in a row.
You guys are going to enjoy this because we have to download some more things. Well, hopefully only one more thing.
I mean, you have to do it sometime.
Yeah. Right. And of course, if you ever like have issues or you want to install different keyboards or you want to just reference for some reason something happened and you need to do this again, you know, the slip guide is always going to be here so you can walk through that process.
I got it pulled up now.
You got it?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There's
Where was
security
it?
of
Where was it hiding on the Mac?
So I just had to go to System Preferences, Keyboard,
System.
and then under the Keyboard tab, there's a little checkbox that says Show Keyboard Viewer.
Oh. Yep. Yep. Show keyboard and character viewers in menu bar. Good. Yeah. I like having that up because often I'll find myself trying to find a character, and if I don't know where it is, you can look at your virtual keyboard and be able to find it. Much more beneficial.
Hitting all the buttons.
Hmm?
And hitting all the buttons.
Yeah, it's a lot better than button mashing and hoping that you find that right combo. And then once we get that set up, we'll go on to that next page of Greek and Hebrew fonts. And we'll set up those different fonts. What we'll do is, I have just the one font on the resource guide, but what we'll do is we'll install SBL Biblet for our main font. And this will allow us to type with the proper font for Greek and Hebrew.
Yeah, it's the same font in both languages. You use the 2 different keyboards.
Exactly, right. So we'll have one font called SBL Biblet, which will give us the good-looking characters that we need for typing in biblical languages. And these are the fonts that are required by the style manual. So for Hebrew, you use SBL Hebrew, and for Greek, you use SBL Greek. All SBL Biblet is those 2 fonts just packaged together.
Yeah. And
along with some other characters, but we don't use those. See, I made this whole slideshow and I realized I haven't even really been going through it. So yeah, if you're there, you can, if you're at that point, you can download your SBL Biblet font.
So it's just that first download option on the website that says font download.
So the link I have to on that website, the font download will be just SBL Hebrew. So you want to go up to that top menu bar where it says search and search Biblet, just Biblit, one word. And that will bring you to a different font called SBL Biblet font. And then you can just download that font and follow the instructions on the Greek and Hebrew fonts page for...
So it's not the keyboard driver?
No, so it's not the keyboard driver. Again, the keyboard allows us to type in those characters. The fonts are going to make them look the way they're supposed to look. Because you can type in Hebrew and Greek using Times New Roman, you can type using Arial, you can type in a lot of different fonts, right?
This one right here?
Exactly, and just follow the instructions that are there for that. So I'm just type this on my screen again for the recording, but as you guys can see here, so none of these are the proper fonts that I'm using. So this up here is La Lucia Grande, this is Times New Roman, this is Times New Roman. So while they all may look correct, and they are correct because it's the correct keyboard that was used to input them, it's not the correct font that we want to use. Because we, SBL Hebrew and SBL Greek, those are the required fonts according to the style manual. So once we get that keyboard set up, you can go ahead and download the SBL Biblet font. we can see here on my computer, for those who can see my computer, that Times New Roman and SPL Hebrew they do look different.
This is all that I got.
That's fine. So that's sometimes on the Mac, when you open it up in Font Book, it's just going to show you a sample of the different characters that it has. But that's not its entire repertoire. It has tons of characters, or excuse me, tons of glyphs that you would need. But it's just going to show you a small selection. So if it's been installed on your system, yep, you can open up Word and you should have the ability to select SPL Biblet. So again, we're on that Greek and Hebrew fonts page, and on the bottom is the directions for adding a font, either for your Windows or for Mac. And again, both of them make it pretty easy, and you shouldn't have to restart your computer for these, which is nice.
Same repeat.
And if you're watching the recording, you can probably fast forward through this part a little bit. How's it coming here? Is that keyboard working? Keyboard's working, fonts installed?
Yes.
All right, and when you go to Word, are you able to access the correct font?
Yeah,
All right. So that is really the key. So this is like the core of what you need for being able to type in these languages. And you know, you can have fun, just start typing in English, and you can switch to like your Hebrew keyboard, type a little bit in Hebrew, and you'll notice the characters will start going right to left, and then switch back, and you can be able to continue typing in English. So you're in Greek now. So yeah, if you just start, you should be able to type in Greek.
Yeah, I need to find my right.
There you go. Yeah, and you can even click on it. And now if you hit that Win Shift, or Win Space.
Is there a different key for it changes? That's nice.
Yeah. Now if you hit Win Space, now you can switch right back to English.
Yes.
Or now you're in Hebrew, actually.
Yeah. The accents. Can you put on accents?
This may be. Yeah. Is that it? Okay, so those are single quotes. And if you hit things like Shift or Control, we'll usually show you where like the rough marks are.
Yeah.
That I'm not 100% certain.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have to get accustomed to the keyboard to find out where all the rough breathing marks are for Greek and any accent marks.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the keyboard layout for Greek,
Mm-hmm.
Greek keyboard layout, do we need to install it, download it from the website and install it on our machine?
So the Greek keyboard that comes on most computers is generally sufficient, but they do make custom keyboards. I'm not sure if SBL has a custom Greek keyboard, but they may. I would just check their website. And then if they do, you can just download it, install it just like you did that Hebrew one, and then you'll have access to that keyboard, which may give you the rough breathing marks and everything and the different accents. I'm very poor at Greek, so I don't use it that often. And then the last part that I wanted to talk about was setting up character styles in Word. Because this is where it gets the trickiest. Because your keyboard, your papers are actually supposed to be written in Times New Roman, except for Greek and Hebrew. All right. So even though you can use that SBL biblet and it will have English characters, they're not the ones you're supposed to use. You're actually supposed to be using Times New Roman for all English characters and Greek, SBL Greek or SBL Hebrew, or again, SBL biblet for your Hebrew and Greek. So what we're gonna do, and hopefully my computer will not crash when I do this, because I own a very old version of Word, is we're gonna work on setting up what's called character styles in Word. So right now, Firefox is wanting to stall out on my computer. Again, when you have a very old laptop, these things happen. But we can always just force quit. Wonderful. And we have not lost our recording. So I will try to open up Microsoft Word. Have you guys ever used the paragraph and character stylings in Word? Exactly. Okay. That was what I was expecting. So when you have you ever downloaded the templates? Okay. So if you ever downloaded the templates, it will have certain style guides put in. It will say things like body of text or headings, and it will define how those items are supposed to look. So when you typically open up just like a new Word document, if you start typing, you know, this is some text right here. If you'll notice, this thing called normal is highlighted. So I would encourage you to take a look at this yourself. What this is a paragraph styling. And what it does is it determines what kind of font your paragraph is going to use and how it's going to look. Will it have a 0.5 indentation or a 0.7 like you're supposed to have in the style manual? Will it be double spaced? Will it be single spaced? All right. So if we just did, I'll just say this is some more text. We'll just keep copying and pasting that. Oh, we're going to see if Word's going to do this. There we go. Here, I'll just. All right. So right now, like this is what my paragraph looks like, right? I have a 0.5 indentation. My font that I'm using is called Caris, SIL, and it's in 14 point. This is not Southern Seminary style guide regulation, right? So what you can do is you can right click on this normal styling and you click on modify, and it's going to bring up a palette that's going to give you the options to change some things. So in this instance, I'm just going to leave the name alone. The style type is a paragraph, and the styling for the next paragraph will be normal. So we can ignore that. And then it will say formatting. And it's going to give me fonts, all my fonts to choose from. So I'm going to make this into our Times New Roman like I'm supposed to. All right, so I'll get rid of that. Times New Roman. I'm going to put it into 12-point font. All right, I'm going to set the color to automatic because that's what I want it to be. So right now I have it justified, or excuse me, so what is this? Centered, justified, I can't remember what it's called. I'm gonna have it justified left like it's supposed to. And I can click down here and it gives me some more options. So for a paragraph, I'm gonna say indentation. I know I'm going pretty fast, but this is just to get a concept of what's going on. I'm gonna change that to 0.7 like it's supposed to be. And my line spacing is it double for the manual, right? Or is it 1.5? It's double spaced, right? I think it's doubled. All right, so we'll say line spacing doubled. Okay. Okay. And so now you can see this text has been updated. I'll just type in some more text. And you can see now that my paragraph has been updated. It's now at 0.7 indentation. It's in Times New Roman. And this is really nice because it gives you the option of, let's say you want to change all of your text, all of your English text at once. All you can do is select that normal paragraph, and every paragraph that has that normal styling to it is going to be updated just like that. You don't have to like select all the different words or control all, and you'll introduce a lot of problems into your formatting. But now let's say, since we have our new handy dandy keyboards, I can start typing this is some, and I'll switch to Hebrew. So this is some Hebrew text. And the problem is, though, my Hebrew text right here is still in Times New Roman. And it's not in SBL Hebrew. So there's one of two things I can do, which is just highlight the word, and I can change it to SBL Hebrew. And for some reason, that's right on mine. SBL Hebrew doesn't want to load up in my palette, so I have to type it in manually. Why does Microsoft Word do that? I don't know. It's a terrible word processor. I don't recommend it, but it's the one everyone uses. So now I've changed my Hebrew text is now in SBL Hebrew, and it's the correct thing. All right, so that can be kind of tedious because now, you know, this is some more, and I have to type in my Hebrew text. And if I wanted to change it to SBL Hebrew, I would have to highlight it again and change it. And then what happens is, let's say I wanted to change all of my, let's say I typed up my paper and I never changed to SBL Hebrew, right? Or let's say I wrote it in SBL Hebrew and it's size 12 and I realized, well, size 14 looks a lot better with Hebrew font with a size 12 text. So I want to put it to size 14 and that looks good. But then I also have to go through and I have to click on that one. And it gets really, really tedious after a while, right? Especially if you do a lot of Greek or Hebrew. And it's going to become tiresome and cumbersome. So what we can do then is, let's get rid of just this Hebrew text here. What we can do is set up another style that will just define how our characters are styled. And I'm almost at the end of this presentation. If you do, you can click on New Style in Microsoft Word. And I'm going to call this one Hebrew Characters. And I'm going to change it to a style type called Character. And so what it's telling me is this isn't a paragraph, but it's just how certain individual letters are supposed to look. If you're using a newer machine, when you get to formatting, there may be an option, I will say like Latin on the side or complex script. Change it to all scripts, it just works better. So now what I can do is I can say, all right, I want this in SBL Hebrew, and I want it in size 14. You know, I'm going to make it, yeah, I'll keep it size 14 and we'll look good for now. All right. And so what I can do now is I can say this is I can switch to my Hebrew keyboard, and then I will switch to my Hebrew styling, and it's already instantly for me, it is going to be in the proper font and size that I want it to be. And then what I just have to do is I'll click clear formatting just for a second, and I can keep typing. Oops, it didn't do it there. It will do that sometimes. Again, not a big fan. And it's doing it. So right now I'm having a little bit of an issue because it's keeping it in SPL Hebrew when it shouldn't. So let's try to delete that again. I know on a PC, if you want to get rid of the styling, you can hit Control Space and it will reset it to the normal styling. So let's see, I should be able to just, clear formatting. Oh, from selected text. Maybe that's what it is. So clear formatting. There we go, clear formatting. And this is, this is some Hebrew text. And I can do that again. This is some more. Go back to Hebrew characters. And so now let's say I wanted again to update all of my Hebrew text. For some reason, I wanted to make it all size 16, and I wanted them all to be in the color red. I can do that, and it will automatically update all of those characters with that. So this is a little bit more of an advanced topic that you may or may not need to use, but I wanted to introduce it to you so you know that this is there. Because it will, once you start typing in more Hebrew and more Greek, it will make your life a lot easier. Again, the basics of what we wanted to do today was just set up our keyboard so we can type in different languages, have the correct keyboard drivers, and have the correct fonts that are installed on our keyboard, or correct fonts that are installed in our word processors now. All right, so that's going to be all for the day. I am going to stop this recording. All right.